What's the first image that comes to mind when you hear the words Omega Seamaster? For most people it's this, the Diver 300-meter Professional, the Bond watch, the ceramic bezel, helium escape valve, wavy dialed icon. And yet, the Diver 300M is just one watch in a much wider, much more complex family. The Seamaster name stretches across the Aqua Terra, the Planet Ocean, the Heritage lineup, and a series of GMT and special instrument models. But ask most people about the Seamaster and they'll picture only one, and I think it's potentially ruining Omega. This isn't just a marketing problem, it's about something deeper. This is about brand identity, it's about the symbols we attach to objects, and it's about how Omega's own luxury strategy, especially in the Bond era, might have accidentally buried some of its best watches in a way Rolex simply couldn't dream of. This is the Omega Seamaster Problem. Welcome to Doug's Watches, the Thinking Watch channel. Here I like to connect art, design, history and philosophy to watches. And if that sounds good to you, do make sure to like and subscribe. The Seamaster story begins in 1948. At first it wasn't a dive watch at all. Omega launched it as an elegant waterproof watch designed to bring military-grade water resistance into the world of everyday wear. These early Seamasters looked more like what we'd call a dress watch today, rather than tools. But beneath their polished cases they carried real engineering and rigidity people wanted from their watches, endorsed by Omega's position in the Dirty Dozen. And as a result, these watches were a massive success. Then came 1957. Omega introduced the Seamaster 300, the first serious professional dive watch from the brand. This was Omega's answer to the Rolex Submariner, which had arrived just 4 years earlier, among the other rival dive watches. The Seamaster 300 brought rotating bezels, large luminous markers, and robust water resistance into the line for the first time. It transformed the Seamaster from a dressier Garda watch into a true tool watch, but one that still carried a certain refinement. However, this is where Omega made their first fatal mistake. Over the decades, Omega would expand the Seamaster line into a full family of watches, and this is where things start to get interesting. In the 1990s, Omega launched what most people now think of as the Seamaster 300M Diver Professional, the Bond watch, the icon many of us think of when the name Seamaster is ushered. Alongside the Diver 300M, Omega introduced other models under the Seamaster name. The Planet Ocean, a more technical, higher spec dive watch aimed at serious divers and professionals who actually need proper water resistance. The Aqua Terra, a versatile, dressier sports watch designed to handle both the office and the outdoors, but not quite so rigid or waterproof. The modern Seamaster 300, a retro reissue paying tribute to the 1957 original with the vintage styling but modern specs, a part of the Heritage lineup, would follow suit, again another item in the Seamaster family. We've also had the addition of various GMT and instrument variants designed for those looking for functionality beyond just simple dive resistance. But if you go back a bit, there are weird quartz variants like my 1425, which I guess if it were out today would be a Seamaster 600 inspired heritage model. There was a period of time where Omega would print the Seamaster script on basically anything in order to get some sales. Quartz Crisis Omega is fascinating, and I will talk about it another time, I'm sure. Originally, the Seamaster identity was clear, a balance between functionality and refinement, but over time, as more models joined the lineup, the identity started to blur. As we can see, this culminated in models like the Omega Seamaster Polaris chronograph. It's a long way away from the original military-inspired 1948 Seamaster and the Diver 300 of today. And that blur, I think right now, is at its strongest it's been for a while. However, this proliferation of Seamasters brings us to the heart of the Seamaster problem. The Rolex Submariner is a masterclass in brand identity. It has one clear purpose: to be the ultimate symbolic luxury dive watch. Over decades, Rolex has kept the Submariner's design and messaging tightly controlled. One model, one story, one symbol. Simple, strong, instantly recognisable, no matter its generation. You've had offshoots, the Yachtmaster, Deep Sea, Sea Dweller, derivatives yes, but not carrying that iconic name, each an icon of their own independent sub-brand. TAG have done the same, Monaco, Aqua Racer, Carrera, each a watch with their own brand, their own celebrity ambassadors and their own story. Longines, even from within the same group as Omega, the Swatch group, have a complicated lineup with a million variations of each model, but it's broken up better. Master, these old-fashioned pieces. Conquest, a little more sporty. Spirit, more heritage, sport, elegance, largely for the ladies. Heritage, the vintage reissues. Omega Seamaster, by contrast, tells a more complicated story. Under the Seamaster name, Omega has and continues to offer many models, from the everyday Aqua Terra to the high-performance Planet Ocean, which even comes in chronograph guises, and this 18 grand 37mm piece that I now want, as well as these so-called instruments. By spreading the Seamaster name across such a wide range, I'd say Omega sacrifices the Seamaster brand clarity, as well as the clarity of these individual models within the Seamaster lineup that other manufacturers like Rolex and Tag have been able to build for their own watches. But that's not quite right. Customers don't struggle to pin down what exactly a Seamaster is. Because of the brilliant brand building, they now know the Seamaster as Bond's watch. They know it as the 300 meter. They don't know the other models within the range as a Seamaster. In 1995, Omega officially became the watch of James Bond. It was a defining moment for the brand. At the time, Jean-Claude Biver, one of the most influential figures in modern watchmaking, was shaping Omega's history with a clear philosophy. If it doesn't sell, it doesn't exist. Biver emphasized celebrity, storytelling, and luxury spectacle as the key drivers of success. Under his leadership, Omega fully leveraged the Bond connection to anchor its brand image around the Diver 300 meter professional. And of course, the Speedy going to the moon as well. This approach prioritized selling the story of the watch, not just the watch itself, specifically selling the Seamaster Professional. And the price of this, they didn't build their other brands, their other watches, and they didn't make any new stories. I went on the Omega website, and under Seamaster there were just over 300 different models, perhaps an intentional nod. I think there are only maybe 15 of these that are Bondian Diver 300s. It's the other 285 odd watches that simply don't have a chance to grow in a way Rolex, Tag, Longines and Cartier have been able to do by building up their other watches. The Speedy has a similar problem, but it's always a chronograph that you're getting. Seamaster, well, that's dive watch to dress watch and even chronograph. It's too much, it's too varied. It could be argued that Omega have chosen to do this to enable these watches to have more attention than they would because they're still a Seamaster. However, I suggest that if that's true, Omega have simply been quite lazy and not worked at their other products. Other icons have been developed, Richard Mille, Glashute Original, Christopher Ward, Roger Dubuis, to launch a new name from a respected brand, a doddle. Selling a few more constellations and a couple more Tresors, that is easy peasy lemon squeezy. Get them in some films, on the red carpet, and offer real availability where many Swiss brands would just mess you about, and that's job done. What's stopping the Aqua Terra being a lesser Globemaster in the grand scheme of things anyway, like a Rolex Oyster Perpetual is to a Day-Date? The Aqua Terra could be a Constellation branded watch. Other than the possibility, if it's not carrying the Seamaster name, it doesn't sell. Omega, a victim of their own success. Or maybe it exists for when Sir goes to the AD wanting not an Omega but a Seamaster, but really needs something a little dressier for the office and dinner dates with his wife. I don't think there is anything holding back these other watches from being their own thing. A scenario like this, I doubt actually exists. In reality, the non-Bondian Seamasters in this group have become lost outside of the hardcore watch community. Perhaps because Omega aren't confident enough in their watches to not be one of these iconic names. Seamaster, Speedmaster, or even DeVille, their dress watch, which has at points had the Seamaster name on its dial. In design and branding, strong identities usually favour clarity over variety. Think the Nike tick, the Adidas stripes, the simple Pepsi logo, the apple, which has had a bite taken out of it. The mass consumer does not have time for long names and complex colour palettes. Rolex and other brands' more focused approach has built a powerful, coherent image that stands the test of time. Because within the Seamaster lineup, you have Oyster Perpetual rivals, Submariner rivals, GMT Master 2 rivals, Yacht Master 2 rivals, and I'm sure I'm missing some as well. And the core difference between Rolex and Omega here comes down to one thing. These Rolex models that all carry different names all trace their roots back to the oyster case. Omega's current crop of watches within the Seamaster lineup goes back to that original Seamaster. But where Rolex decided to break out the models from under that oyster moniker, Omega simply did not. They lent into their brand equivalent to the oyster case, the Seamaster stamp. Omega's broader strategy shows a willingness to embrace complexity, but that complexity dilutes the brand's image and leaves some great watches lost in the shadows that their biggest rival Rolex simply does not have. As I've spoken about in my other videos on dive watches, they have become modern symbols of capability, adventure, and masculinity. They represent toughness, reliability, and a readiness for the unknown. The Seamaster 300-meter Diver Professional embodies this symbolism perfectly. Its rotating dive bezel, helium escape valve, and distinctive dial all visually communicate its purpose and its heritage. Add to that its starring role on James Bond's wrists, you have a watch that's loaded with cultural meaning. By contrast, other Seamaster models, like the ones we've mentioned, but let's throw one more in to the mix anyway, the Railmaster, don't carry this same semiotic clarity. They're not what the mass market has gone for the past few decades. They're dressier or more versatile, occasionally more robust, but always less visually iconic, because while they carry the same name as Omega's big boy watch, they're without the known design of the dive watch that's largely a recipe for instant commercial success. It's true a lot of these watches, they don't have the same instantly recognisable design cues as the 300-meter Diver. Say compare a Railmaster and Aqua Terra, but Rolex seemed to pull it off with their Air King and Explorer. The Diver 300M dominates public memory not because of marketing, but because it looks and feels like the symbol of what a modern dive watch should be. For better or worse, the Omega Seamaster isn't one watch, it's a vast, complex family of watches. But luxury consumers don't buy complexity, they buy symbols, and they buy stories. And the 300-meter is the only Seamaster with that story, at least being told in public discourse. Until Omega can reframe its storytelling, bringing brilliant watches like the Aqua Terra and Planet Ocean out of the shadow of Bond's Diver 300-meter, Omega are going to struggle to climb back up to the second spot in the Morgan Stanley Watch Report. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, do please like the video and subscribe if you want to see more of my work. If you want to help me make more of these videos, do please consider becoming a channel member. There are a few perks. I will see you all next time. Bye bye.